Maybe so. And George, real quick, thank you for the $20 super chat, buddy. You don't have to do this. God bless you. George, you got the link. Check your DMs. If you want to hop in, even for 5 minutes, man, I don't care. We're chilled out tonight. We're going to be talking a little turkey here about it, but come in, share your thoughts on anything, man. I wanted to do a live show because I knew I wouldn't be able to do one tomorrow, and I didn't want to have like 2 solid weeks between live shows, just the way the holidays lined up this year. But again, next Sunday, I am going to try to do one on location up at the farm. I think this will be a blast. So stay tuned for that. But let me grab some more of these super chats, I guess, while I got these up. George, hop in if you can, buddy. Sterling Jones, thank you for that one. We got that one. William Thompson for 10. Are both companies in that bad financially speaking to have them wanting to merge? Yes, Paramount and Warner Brothers neither one of them are in great financial shape. And while there are some arguments that could be made that this could be an interesting combination. As I mentioned before, most of Wall Street right now does not seem at all enamored with this idea. Because most of them are like,
this is one of the few merges, though. It's depending on how they merge. I could see it actually benefiting both companies. In fact, it might even save Paramount's ass. Or honestly, from what I heard, and this is the thing that was funky about this whole thing, because a lot of people poo-pooed it when I brought it up earlier this last week here, but
I mentioned that at the top of the show. If you didn't hear it, yeah.
I had said that I'd heard that Zaslav is hovering around CBS. He's very interested in the sports, and that was something that also came out as part of this. But he said Paramount, not CBS. Yeah. So I'm curious how this will go. We seem to think, Andre and I seem to think what'll happen is Skydance will probably wind up with Paramount. Warner Brothers will probably wind up with CBS and most of the cable networks. They'll have to sell everything else off, and Warner Brothers might wind up with the Paramount catalog. Because I could see Skydance going, we don't care about any movies pre-1980, because guess who's there? Tom Cruise. They're just going to want Tom Cruise's movies, and that's all they give a crap about.
That's possible, and I think that's a very good observation. I'm with you on that one. Like I said,
and Zaslav will kill Paramount Plus. Yeah.
I think it all comes down to, no matter what the agreement is, it's got to get through regulatory scrutiny. Now, if they break off the actual CBS broadcast and the linear broadcast, because that's the other thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. That was the other thing that I said. I don't think to me, this is the problem that I have, is that if I'm the FCC or the FTC or I can't remember what the EU board is called, but the European Union Consumer Affairs Regulatory Body, whatever the hell that is. The issue I have is that when you look at the hierarchy chart of the size and scope of linear broadcast cable channel providers right now, you've got Disney and Warner Brothers. Those are your biggest ones. I mean, and Paramount now. So if Warner Brothers takes in, and I have to go look up how many linear broadcast pieces Paramount has their hands in, but if you add that to Warner Brothers Warner Brothers is now enormous when it comes to the number of channels, because right now between Warner Brothers and Discovery,
that's a big problem. Yeah, I was bringing that up too.
It's already over 30 channels.
I think it's like 42% of the cable market is owned by Warner Brothers, and then another 36% is owned by Paramount.
Yeah.
So if they were to merge, that might be an issue.
That's what I'm saying. I cannot see federal regulators going, yeah, sure. I could see them selling the linear broadcast and stuff if Skydance wanted to pick it up, right? Because Skydance they don't have a nut in the game for that.
See, and that's just it.
You're not
as far as the
anything.
channels go, like the only thing I can see Warner Brothers even be remotely interested in would be Nickelodeon, MTV, maybe VH1, but even though VH1 and BET right now are being talked about,
but would the
already
federal regulators
for
let them take the
separate
biggest assets? See, that's
just it. I get what you're saying, but that's where they might get away with this, because as long as they're not taking all the other smaller ancillary shit, and they may not even be able to take Nickelodeon. You're right. But what they'll want is they'll want to. But this is what I think Warner's would do, is they would turn around and they would shut down Cartoon Network in favor of Nickelodeon. I think they would. I think that in that case, because at this point, Cartoon Network doesn't have nearly as much original programming as Nickelodeon does, and Nickelodeon is much more well known in the marketplace. So I think that those kind of things make sense. See?
That almost could get spun off into its own thing.
They
That's
could very
Nickelodeon.
well.
They could spin Nickelodeon.
See, that's where
off.
I think Zaslav is interested in this. He wants CBS, he wants sports, he wants a network, which makes complete sense.
Well,
Warner
that's
Brothers
why-
has never had a network.
That's why he would want CBS, and that's the
outside
only
of
thing.
CW, but yeah.
Well, no, but he wants CBS because of the sports contracts that it comes with. That's what would interest him. But the problem is
and
that
that's why I was hearing
would federal regulators, because if you look at the sports catalog, because it's not just about the broadcast contract. If you look at the sports rights that Warner Brothers already has, especially with the NBA, and with that NBA contract renewal coming up in less than a year from now, like maybe, 6 to 8 months from now is when renewal comes up. We're talking $75+ billion here is what the NBA is going to be going for. I don't know. I mean, because that would make Warner Brothers would suddenly become, in terms of sports rights, they'd be bigger than Disney. They would be by far, and I mean, they'd be significantly bigger than Disney. Because when you're talking about CBS, the most valuable sports rights CBS has is the AFC, the American Football Conference. One half of the NFL is CBS. Mm-hmm. So you'd have that, plus you'd have all the other stuff that CBS has in terms of
and I think the NBA deal comes up this
NBA
next year too for TNT, so that might be another part of this.
Well, that's Warner Brothers. That's what I'm saying. The NBA,
exactly,
that's Warner Brothers has roughly like half the NBA. Disney has the other half. ESPN has the other half. Now there's other players in there. I say half and half, but it's mostly those two. So,
but we don't know what's all going on behind the scenes. Maybe Disney plopped down a bunch of money, or is in the. Maybe they're trying to get all the NBA rights, so that might be why Zaslav wants the football. We don't know.
Well, that's
what I heard initially, too, is that he was more interested in the sports, CBS.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing I heard was he was going to move a lot of the people from CBS News over to CNN so he could clean up CNN.
That's why Disney and Bob Iger have been talking about wanting to bring in a league partner for ESPN. They want a distribution partner like Amazon, right, which makes a ton of sense because Amazon has a buttload of cash. And Amazon can come in and clean sweep the entire NBA contract. And then all Disney has to do is provide effectively turnkey broadcasting operations to Amazon and ESPN jointly. Like Amazon doesn't have to create its own sports casting crew to do NBA stuff. They can partner up with Disney in an equity deal and then have Disney literally provide ESPN branded content for all of Amazon's NBA broadcasts. That's the kind of thing they're looking for. And if you bring the NBA in also as an equity partner to ESPN, they have a stake in the game as well. That's why Iger is looking to go down that road. And look, to his credit, it makes a lot of sense and it's a smart move. Now, how this is going to wind up playing out, is that actually going to happen? We don't know yet. But I think whenever the NBA contract comes up, I think it's in the summer of 24. It's shit's gonna get real interesting.
It's coming up. That's why I was I brought that up. That was my point, because that's where he's got to make some moves and grooves right now. And as you said, sports it's so important to this whole thing. And I think it's time. I think he's ready on a level that like Warner Brothers needs an outlet. CBS is probably their number one licensor as far as television shows, I'd imagine, or at least they used to be.
Yep.
And they have the largest catalog as far as television goes.
Oh, the CBS television studios, God, the stuff they license out for everybody else, like Warner Brothers does, is amazing.
That's what I mean. Like, I mean, all the they did basically like stuff like, for instance, they owned Big Bang Theory and The Sheldon Show, the 2.5 Men shows and all that stuff. But I think that was on ABC, I think. But still, point being is Warner Brothers owns a lot of those shows, and I think. If they had a network, because they tried with CW, but that was a joint thing with Paramount, and it just didn't work out. They never had the penetration they needed as far as the market goes to actually get anywhere. Like I still lived in an area where I had no access to a CW channel my entire life.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.